Hey there. Thanks for hanging out with K-Dubs and listening to the podcast. Much appreciated. Check us out on YouTube. Shoot us an email. Let us know how we're doing. Hanging out with kdubs@gmail.com. And as always, enjoy the next episode. Chris Seegers. Good
Kyle.
seeing you.
Hi, Kyle.
It's been a while.
It's been a long while.
I think the last time I seen you was before you went to Ridgefield. You were still up here in Harvard.
So that would have been, I gotta think about this, 2019. Oh, no, 2020.
Yeah, and then COVID and everything happened.
Yeah, because I got the call to go to Ridgefield because the other guy quit. I was in Florida, in Cocoa Beach, or I wasn't quite in Florida. It was the week before I left. They said, hey, we want to promote you to, facility manager. You start next week. I said, that's great. I'm leaving the week after for a week, so I have to figure this thing out.
I mean, that's fine. I'll be there, but I'll be there a week, and then I'm going to be gone for a little while. And then you guys will have to figure it all out while I'm gone. But
well, and they were blasting me with emails. They're like, hey, your quarterly stuff is due. And I said, hey, listen, I'm on vacation, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, I'll try to piece it together while I'm here. And my wife is like, you're on vacation. You're not working. I'm like, this will only take like 10 minutes. I'm like, go take a shower. Like, I'll figure it out.
And then probably got it figured out and back to your vacation.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I missed an hour of pool time.
Oh, that ain't so bad.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No, you can pick that up later on.
Absolutely.
From midnight to 1 o'clock, you can pick that right up. That hour that you lost,
That trip was no capacity to be up past midnight.
Oh yeah. Usually when you go on trips like that and there's alcohol involved, you don't sleep very much.
Well, you sleep. You just sleep early
and fast.
Start playing euchre in a hot tub at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Bedtime's come pretty quick.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Actually, I can imagine that.
It was a good time.
That's all that matters.
It's still a good time.
You guys go back all the time, do you?
We haven't been back since because my wife was pregnant the next year. And
COVID after that.
Well, yeah. Well, that was part of it. COVID. That was one thing. That was a real bummer. And then I lost my years already. My son was 8 months last year, and we're like, do we really want to take an 8-month-old on a plane away from home for a week? Like, it doesn't seem like worth the aggravation.
Next year.
Yeah. Well. We were going to do that, except for now she's pregnant again, so.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Number 2 on the way.
Number 2.
That's exciting.
2 monsters.
2 monsters.
My, what do they call that? Your, just desserts?
That's one way to put it, I guess. That's great. That's exciting. I didn't know that, so congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Now that we've talked about today, let's start back with your kind of first and only job that you've done basically since you got out of high school, right? And that was started basically the granary, right? You started at Seegers down there in Chemung, right?
I would like my son. I was a busy kid, and the babysitter wasn't just quite cutting it for me because both my parents worked. So every opportunity that I had when I was younger, meaning like from 5 to driving basically, if Grandpa needed help, I was there. Dad needed help, I was there. And so that spent, we'd go to the elevator in the morning, I'd cut the grass, we'd go back to the farm, trim trees, bushes, mow the grass, all that kind of stuff. And so spent a lot of time with my grandfather. And then when I was in high school, I wanted to drive more than anything. And they said, well, okay, well, you can drive, but, you're going to pay for your own gas and insurance. We'll get you the car. My dad got a new pickup, and he gave me his pickup. It was a 1990 Dodge Dakota.
Nice.
Pretty pristine.
Mine was a 91 Silverado.
Nice. It was a good year.
It was a couple good years right there.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted money in a bad way. So Grandpa's like, well, I know a place you can push a shovel around. And I started doing that part-time. And then when I graduated, I was waiting on a job from Anderson BMW over there in Crystal Lake. They were doing I forget what the cost was at the time. In 2004, it was like a $3 million expansion for their shop. So I had been talking to the manager, and when they got the job done, they were going to hire me in as apprentice, send me to Volkswagen school and all that stuff, and I was going to be a Volkswagen mechanic.
Hey, that sounds like a pretty lucrative deal for a 18-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic.
When you think about it that way.
It was fantastic. So I worked at the elevator in the meantime, and then, once you get into it, it's like, okay, well, we need to learn how to do this. We need to learn how to do that. And at one point in time, they're like, well, you got to learn how to drive truck because we're all busy, and we need to keep these trucks on the road, and the drivers can't handle the hours of service, so you're going to have to cover some loads. And that lasted about a week. And then they're like, okay, well, we need you to learn to dry corn because we've got all this corn coming in and we can't dry fast enough, so you're going to have to stay late and dry corn. So it was literally trial by fire. Like, this is the dryer. You adjust this, turn the heat up, turn the heat down. This is your target. Watch it. And you just sit there and wait. And so I dried overnight for like 2 years. And then they were having other issues. They said, well, technically you're working full-time hours, but you're only part-time. Hadn't heard back from the dealership at all, and I had been checking in with the guy regularly for 2 years basically. And I said, well, this thing's not going through. I don't know what these guys are doing, if they're ever going to get it done, but more money. Still wanted money, obviously.
Yeah, we all do.
So I got bumped to full-time, all the bennies, all that kind of stuff, and so that was, I got to remember, was like 4, 5, 6, I think. And then in 2007, the manager or the originator in Harvard, who works for my boss now, they wanted to promote him so that my uncle, who was our CEO, could focus more on the macro aspects of the business, And so they moved.
Yeah, because I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
No, that's fine.
Because the micro stuff, when you're in that kind of business, when you have a granary and you're bringing in all this corn, all this wheat, all this soybeans, if you're not watching that stuff with a microscope, it can cost a heck of a lot of money.
Yes.
So that's probably why he was like, hey, I need to concentrate on this because we're losing too much here or we're losing too much there. So we need to tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, also when you're working on that bigger stuff, you can't focus, like you said, on the small stuff, which is the business relationships.
Correct.
Because you're in business with the same people for 25, 35, 45 years, so you need to, keep that congruent, if you will.
Yeah, because when you have that granary, obviously that the local farmers are probably always going to come to your granary. Or within back then, relatively speaking, if you didn't have your own granary and your own setup and you could haul your own corn, everything came to you guys because you guys had the wet bins, had the dryers, you had the storage facility. So for the farmers that didn't have that, it was we need Seegers here so we can go do that.
Well, they needed a person. It just helped that I had the last name. So because when I got to Harvard and when I started buying grain in Harvard, it was the Harvard people didn't know who I was because they just knew the name on the sign, but without any proof of integrity, if you will, there was some trial by fire moments, and I had to earn.
Oh yeah,
and I had to earn it, and I lost some of the battles pretty bad, and luckily my supervisor was understanding and coached me through a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of stuff really fast, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's with any job, right? I mean, they're going to throw you to the wolves and don't expect you to get eaten by the wolves. They expect you to be with them or come out leading the pack or whatever you want to call it.
Well, and the other part of it too is that in a general context, being a salesperson is one thing, but when you're responsible for somebody generating revenue, your entire year's revenue is based on your interaction with me in a lot of instances. The relationship has a little bit more weight. And for a 23-year-old, that's a lot.
That's a lot for anybody.
Yeah.
Because
a lot.
Well, I mean, I was in sales for quite a long time too.
Well, you started early.
Yeah, and you got to the point where you wanted to do what's best for the business, but you also want to do what's best for your customers.
Yes.
So you gotta ride that fine line, because you want a job tomorrow, but on the other hand, you want to make sure that customer comes back to you to buy another product, or in your case, to sell their product to you.
Yep.
So you have to ride that fine line. It's all business, right? If you can get that customer just a little bit better deal than the surrounding area,
It's not even that really.
Okay, well, tell me about your situation.
There's not enough room for better deals, because it's a high volume, small margin business. So
Agreed.
If you're going to try to get greedy on somebody, they're going to know it instantly. And that's not the way I do it. And that's not the way I don't think anybody should do it in that regard. You give people the best price you can give them and lay it all
right
out.
off the bat.
This is my best offer. If you don't like it, that's fine. Maybe we can work on something different. Maybe there's a different level that interests you. Maybe there's some intangible benefits. Maybe, you need help. We can, send a truck out, pick some stuff up in the field. We'll pick it up on the farm, something like that. There's whatever extra benefits that you can cultivate to add value to the relationship, other than this is the price.
The price of it. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that do that.
Oh, I can believe it. I know when I was selling, I would always, my old bosses would kill me if they knew this, but I always shot them. I always shot them the best deal that I could do, the best deal they would allow me to do.
Yep.
That's the way I shot it. And I told them, hey, this is it. If Kubota down the street's $5,000 cheaper, hey, I'm sorry. This is literally my guidelines that I have to follow by, but I'm at the bottom of my guidelines here. Yep. So in the ag industry, selling that way, that's how I try to do it. Now, like you said, you are a high volume, low margin.
Yep.
So you really don't have that kind of room.
No.
Unless you're talking about probably more volume, correct?
Yeah. You could sweeten a deal for something for volume if it works for you. If I don't have any interest in volume, then why would I do that?
True. Very true.
But to your point, you're cultivating these relationships. Would you rather have 25 years at 5%, or would you have a one-time shot at 7%?
Right.
I know what I'm picking.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the best deal. I want to build this thing to something that's relating to a sales empire, if you will, where you have a steady accumulation over time, and then that's the way I got taught to.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it's.
So you got thrown to the wolves at 23 years old and said, "Good luck. We're here to help you, but good luck."
Yep. And it was small stuff, but farmers are particular,
Yeah, they can be picky. Yeah. I'll say it. I don't care. Yeah, they can be picky in particular in a lot of things. So when that happened, obviously you didn't crumble.
No. I persevered, and it's worked out well.
So after the initial thrown to the wolves, what was your so-called job then at that point? Because before you were kind of the grunt. You were watching the dryers. Yep. You were shoveling the bins out and probably loading trains at that point. I don't even know. But so at that point, what was your job title then, I guess?
My specific title when I first came to Harvard was grain originator. So the difference is when you're working one side of the equation versus working both sides. So it's a title change. It's kind of the same thing. But the difference is if you're just buying or if you're buying and selling. If you get promoted to merchant if you're buying and selling. So
you were just buying then at that point?
I was just buying at that point in time.
Okay. And I'm assuming they had guidelines for you to buy grain at whatever price because you were selling at whatever price too then, right?
Yeah, just like anything, there's parameters. And it's a little bit more nuanced than that because it's the ebb and flow of the market.
Yeah, because the market changes hourly.
Hourly, daily, by the minute. I mean, corn had I forget what it was, 22-cent swing today, something like that.
Yeah, it was big.
Yeah, and it's been that way for the last 3 weeks. But, I mean, this is a high volatility time. When I started buying was 2007. That was at the front curve of the ethanol mandates. And so corn was going up and up and up and up, and beans were tailing. And so at that time, these guys were making money hand over fist. it was a good time to be in farming.
It was.
And
Absolutely.
that was the start of when everything got crazy. That's when the land rents went up. That's when the seed costs went up. Not that they shouldn't have. I'm just saying.
No, absolutely. Well,
it was changing constantly.
It's going to follow the market. If the market's going up, everything's going to follow that because everybody wants a little piece of their chunk and pie out
Exactly. So that was a unique situation. So we, in those first couple of years, we had some incredible crops. I mean, county record yields and stuff like that. And just when you get comfortable, 2012 hit, the drought year. That was a totally different ballgame.
There was some good crop in the area, but not a lot.
Yes. But how do I say this politely?
You don't have to say it politely.
2012, in spite of the drought, was still a very good year.
It was very profitable.
It was very profitable.
Well, because I think that's when corn shot up to $7, right?
That was the first time it went over 7, yeah.
Yeah, that shot up to $7 because they knew the drought was coming. So even if you got, prior to that, it was, I don't even know, probably 350, 325.
Yeah, we were in the 4 area, 4.5.
Maybe. And then, so if you even got 60% of your crop, you were still making what you made the year before.
Yeah.
Just because the price just shot up that high.
And the insurance was insane.
And the insurance paid out on that as well.
Yep.
So farmers made money that year. There's no doubt about that in my mind. How did that affect your buying and selling then as a granary?
Actually, it was just less.
So oh yeah, well, duh, that makes sense. The numbers weren't less, but the product was less.
Well, less product, less dollar volume by margin, because remember, you're high volume, low margin.
Correct.
So it could have been really, really bad, and actually, it was almost really, really bad because the banks at the time were not prepared to finance forward contracts for $7+ corn.
Okay, so for folks out there that don't know what you're talking about, what's a forward contract?
A forward contract at any point in time for any year, you can sell based on the futures market a specific quantity and specific delivery point of almost any grain to almost anywhere. That's a forward contract
For that specific dollar amount.
You lock in the price today.
Yeah, so an example, if I wanted to sell my soybeans, next year, August, I could call Chris up and say, Chris,
Yep.
I got 1,000 bushel of beans next year, and I want to deliver them in August to you.
Yep.
What's the price? And you tell me what the price is, and I say, okay, let's lock it in.
Yep.
That's a forward contract.
Yep. So going back to what I was saying though about the banks, you've got this whole book on your balance sheet, and you have to finance that book at the time. Well, when corn went from 4 to 5, it was okay, but when it from 5 to 7, the banks went, well, we don't really have any more money in our ag portfolios for financing the rest of these crops that you guys are buying, because the farmers did exactly what they should. They said, the price is what for next year? Well, I can't lose it with that. I ought to lock some in. And it wasn't just us at the time. It was the entire industry. Yeah,
well, because that's nationwide.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was just $7 here in Illinois.
Yeah,
it was $7 everywhere.
And that's the commercial grain industry's business model, if you will.
Which is what?
Which is the forward contract.
The forward contracting. Yeah. I just got lost there for a second.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that was just a weird year, weird time. Because the following year, we had a great year.
Yeah. And
prices came back down to fairly normal.
Yeah, they fell over 3 years back to 5, and then we kind of coasted in that, I'll say, 4 to 6 range for a couple of years. But after that initial shock, it wasn't really that big of a deal.
No, because it was the initial shock of, we've never seen this before.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Well,
how are we going to do it?
And at the time, that was 2007, 2008. That's when everything was going higher and higher and higher. That was when fuel first went to $5 a gallon. They were saying oil at 150 was going to go to 300. And so almost everybody collectively was crapping their pants.
Well, because at that point in time, the crash was happening too.
It was right before the crash.
Was it right before the crash?
It was right before the crash.
You're right. It was right before the crash.
2007 was on the escalation. The housing market had started to turn, but the financial collapse was in 2008.
That's what it was.
Yep.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Did I get off track on my timeline somewhere?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, I think you're good. Yeah. I think I got off track.
I got so many years in my Rolodex in my brain, I got to sort them out.
At least you can remember all of them. I mean, it sounds like you're pretty good at remembering all that stuff, because I can tell you one thing. I can't remember everything. I just remember the big ones.
I'm remembering. I just don't know if it's accurate.
That's fair. So then you moved into selling and buying.
Selling and buying.
Okay. So for us that aren't in a granary, what does that mean and what does that consist of?
Kind of just like it sounds. In the grand scheme of things, based on crop size, usage, the market is going to move in a condition to incentivize you or disincentivize you to either hold grain off the market or to ship it as fast as possible. And so what your job is as a merchant is to read the signals and make the appropriate calls, both for buying and selling.
So you're buying from the farmer, and then you're selling for the granary.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So what we?
Sorry, I'm dumbing it down here a little bit.
It's fine. I'll elaborate just a little bit.
Or a lot. It don't matter.
You're selling to whoever wants to buy it, which is typically an end user. So a lot of our grain now and at the time goes to poultry mills down in Texas and Arkansas. We load train cars on the Union Pacific. In Harvard, we load shuttle trains, which is 110 cars at a time. It's like
and how many bushels on each car?
3,600, 4 semis. So a whole train is 400,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
And now we load a car at 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
That's a 100 bushel a second. Am I doing my math right?
Don't hurt your brain.
No, I'm not going to hurt it.
It's fast.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah. So it's basically like an avalanche cart, but you have 4 of them at the same time.
Dumping.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
when you miss, it makes a big mess.
Get the shovels out or the vac.
Yeah, it's a team of shovels.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not just one person shoveling. Holy cow. Yeah, that's a lot of grain in a short period of time.
Yeah, so it goes fast. So, but it's good. I mean,
time is money.
Time is money.
So you have to have that efficiency.
It is
to keep that thing going. I get it. I totally get it.
Yep. So yeah, we sell those, and there's an appetite, and we buy grain in the off season. We buy grain in harvest. I buy grain every day almost, unless the market's really, really terrible. And it's our job to figure out the logistics, make sure if you got grain bought, then you can be comfortable selling, or if you don't have grain bought, well, now you need to buy some.
So the incentives come in then to the farmers.
Yeah,
when that point in time comes,
they would call that basis appreciation.
Basis. Yep, we were going to get to that. I just hadn't got that far yet, but we're there now. So a basis is. You can explain it better than me, so I'll let you explain it.
Basis is the relative appetite of any end user plus the freight plus whatever it takes to handle it.
So in layman's terms, it's the market minus...
It's the board of trade plus or minus whatever somebody's willing to pay.
Correct.
And how they figure out, this is the best analogy. If you and I are in central Iowa, and you have an ethanol plant, and I have an ethanol plant.
God, we're rich.
Yes. But we both need to buy corn.
Absolutely, we do.
Okay. So just say for whatever reason, you've bought more corn previously than I have.
Good, bad, or otherwise.
Yep. You need more. Or I got lost. I need more. You're good. I need more.
Correct.
So now I have to pay more than you do, right? How much do I have to pay? I don't know. I have to pay as much as it takes to get it to move to me instead of you.
Exactly.
And that's the way the whole country works.
It is. Yeah, because I'm going to dumb it down just a little bit more. So let's just say the board of trade for corn is just $5. We'll just keep it simple. your basis might be $4.70 or $4.60, which means you're paying the farmer $4.60 per bushel, even though the Board of Trades is at $5, because you have to transport it, you have to sell it for the right price, blah, 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 blah. I know if you get to Central Illinois and you get to the Mississippi River, they have a plus basis down there.
Yes.
So the Board of Trades at $5, and maybe they have a plus basis of 50 cents. So they're going to pay you $5.50 to bring your corn to them. Mm-hmm. That's the basis in layman's terms.
Yep.
Easy terms.
The basis, it outruns the logistics is basically its point.
Yeah. And that works for soybeans, wheat,
everything.
Sorghum, you name it.
Natural gas.
Yeah, you get absolutely.
Coal, oil, all that. Any commodity, it's the same formula because it works.
It works.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks around here, but it works,
It doesn't actually sucks. I mean, it's all relative. I mean, when you just take a snapshot today, I just wrote it down this afternoon. Gulf corn is 90 over this September for August delivery.
Okay.
Up here in Harvard, Northern Illinois, we're 45 over.
It's not terrible then.
So between you can't hardly get corn from Harvard, Illinois
to the Gulf
for
50 cents.
For 50 cents. So somebody could if they wanted to, but they're not going to make any money.
So when you guys load these trains up, and you said you have a lot of end users in Texas for chickens. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Does that all by train rail, all by train cars, all the way to Texas then?
Yep. The premise of the shuttle, which is logistics efficiency, the train shows up whatever hour of the night, whenever they drop it off, we have 15 hours to load it. After 15 hours, the railroad shows up again with their crew, and they pull it out, and they run it to Texas. They get to Texas, they got 15 hours to unload it, crew jumps back on, and they drag it back to Illinois again. And those pieces of freight never stop moving.
So I'm assuming, I mean, you probably wouldn't know this, but I'm assuming as the train end of it, they probably have something coming from Texas back up to Northern Illinois, do they not?
Nope. Dedicated freight.
Really?
Yep.
So it's strictly corn from here to there.
Yep.
And they come back empty.
Yep.
Wow.
Because you can't. There's too much leeway in getting a backhaul. Also, almost everything in this country runs south.
Yeah, I noticed that.
South,
or towards major rivers.
Basically anywhere but the Midwest. That's where everything. The only thing that runs to the Midwest is like fertilizer and fuel and
oil, coal,
that
kind of
coal.
thing. We ain't got a lot of that around here.
But there's way more grain than there is oil or fuel or coal.
Hence why grain goes everywhere else and everything else comes in, because we're known as a breadbasket for a reason.
Exactly.
I didn't know that was all just dedicated freight one way. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's got to be an expense too.
Yeah. Well, the structure of that is that railroads run on tons per mile.
Tons per mile.
So they want tons and they want miles.
Makes sense.
So
I never thought about it that way.
When the railroad has an opportunity to fill their obligations, they're willing to and dedicate freight to it. It's a cost savings for them. So
you guys work with the railroad to make that happen then, correct?
Yes.
Because you guys don't own your own cars. You don't own your own engines.
You can own your own cars. We don't currently. All the freight is owned by, you would, if you were just say a poultry mill in Texas, you would buy a set of cars, 110 cars, and you would pay whatever the rate was for those cars. So you're responsible for owning those cars, and then the freight for the railroad to haul them. So once you own them, you can kind of point them wherever you want, more or less. And that's kind of the current system.
And then pay the railroad X amount of dollars to use their rails then, obviously, at that point.
You pay them for the transportation.
Gotcha.
You essentially rent the cars.
Yeah, I didn't know how all that worked. I'm glad you knew, because I was guessing on. I was assuming you guys were renting the cars and filling them and hauling them down there, but you guys don't even really rent the cars. You really you
not currently.
You use the cars for your product that you're selling from the railroad.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The difference is if we were to own the cars, we're responsible for the logistics. So
and I'm sure logistics from here to Texas is probably not very easy on a rail.
Well, it's not the actual railing of the grain is the easy part.
Really? I just figured. So, sorry to interrupt you again.
That's all right.
I just figured from all the rail cars that are out there, whether they're hauling people or supplies or commodities or whatever, it's not like you have your own separate track. Hey, no. DeLong's up here have their own separate track from here to that poultry. So they probably have to talk with people that are down south bringing commodities up. Okay, you got to pull over here because we're going to be here at this time and blah, 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 blah.
Yep. They simplify it so they don't have to do that. Generally speaking, they don't like to have those interchanges because it causes delays, as I'm sure you can imagine, which is another perk of the dedicated freight because when they leave Harvard, they're going on a UP line. They never come off a UP. Well, that's not true. They have to they have to share some lines like in Chicago.
That makes sense.
Chicago's kind of a rat's nest for rail.
It's a rat's nest for cars, too. Been in there lately?
It's a rat's nest for everything. They try to avoid the major cities, but unfortunately it doesn't work like that.
No, you got to go the smoothest and easiest way possible.
Yeah, it's path of least resistance.
You got it.
So they, between the buyers and the sellers, if you will, they're constantly juggling these units between who needs what where. And when I say mills, it's not one mill. I think Pilgrim's has 6 mills down there.
Wow, that seems like a lot, is it not?
It's a lot of birds.
It's a lot of birds. That's what I'm saying. That seems like a lot.
And then they're not the only company either, because you got Tyson, you've got resellers. They'll spill stuff into eastern Louisiana. I can't remember the last time we sent one to Missouri, southern Missouri. Basically anywhere where it's not big enough to have large scale production agriculture like it is here, but they can put up a rail station and have 50,000 chicken farms for 50,000 birds a piece.
Jesus,
it's a big mouth to feed.
I'd love to get one of those people here and talk to them that operate one of those big bird businesses. That would just be fascinating for me.
Yeah, there's a documentary about it. I watched it, and I can't remember. It was one of those farming documentaries, and one of the ones that they specified was the contract growers for, I think it was Tyson, the specific poultry farms, and the way that whole thing's worked. I'm not smart enough to talk about it.
No, me neither.
So the quality control aspect is what they want. So they get number 2 corn from us all the time, every time. They got their rations. They mix all their own feed, and then they just distribute it to the farms. Hey, farmer, here's your feed ration. Feed out these birds. We'll come get them in 2 months.
Get them fat. We'll take them from there.
Yeah. So it's literally almost as precise as you could possibly be. I mean, they know how many times a chicken pecks the ground every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. There's something to it, though. You got to have it. If you're going to be in that industry, kind of like you in the granaries, you probably got to know every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Front to back and top to bottom, just to make sure you got everything covered.
It's just all math.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, a chicken can only eat so much protein a day, can only gain so much weight a day, and from a chick that's inoculated to the time that it's a full-grown bird ready for slaughter, it's X many days.
Yep. And they're ready to go at that point.
So, you get your chicks on this day, you get your chicks on this day, you get your chicks on this day, you get your feed on this day.
Exactly.
It's a very, very precision science.
It sounds awesome, though.
It's incredible.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds just absolutely awesome.
So that you can imagine the logistics that go into all that.
Oh, my God.
It's an entire, both sides of it, the origination side and the consumption side. I mean, you've got thousands of people that's what they do all day.
Exactly.
And so, if you would have told me, everybody knows a farmer, right?
Around here, yes.
Around here,
absolutely.
But even across the country, you go somewhere like, oh, are you a farmer? And I'm like, well, I got my start seeing farmer shirt.
I've seen that. Thanks for wearing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I actually had a lady come up to me in a grocery store the other day. She wanted to talk about farming and grain and stuff like that. She was handing out the samples at Sam's Club.
You go, girl.
It was pretty funny. My wife was like, "Really? We're doing this again?"
Get used to it, hon. That's just what we do.
I was like, "The fair's next week. This is going to be a full-on stop on this train."
I was gonna say. How much of your guys' grain goes to chicken farms? Is it a certain percentage, or
It's like 99% of the
really almost all of it does?
Yeah.
Wow, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I would have not guessed that at all. So when you're selling as part of the granary, you're selling to the chicken farms, basically. Is
Almost
what you're
all
doing.
the time.
Yeah, when you got that many chickens to feed, you have to have it one way or another, whether it's coming from Central Illinois, Western Illinois.
Yep.
I'm assuming they probably even buy from Central Illinois.
Well, yeah, and
Central America. I'm sure they even buy some from.
I don't. The East Coast definitely does. It was kind of an anomaly up until a couple of years ago, but pretty regularly now they'll import soybeans into like South Carolina from Brazil because, believe it or not, originating grain from South America is cheaper than the freight it takes to go out of the corridor over to that side of the country.
That doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
Actually, it really doesn't shock me.
It shocked me at first when I learned about it.
I mean, I just think about all the stuff that's made across the pond, and they can ship the supplies over there, get it made, and ship it back for cheaper than we can make it here. That doesn't surprise me. That's why I said I wouldn't surprise me if they got stuff from South America or Central America.
Yeah.
Because they probably can make it cheaper than what we can make it.
Yeah.
And get it shipped up here and still be in good shape.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure the quality's probably not going to be as good as what's coming out of DeLong's here in Harvard or Crystal Lake or whatever. I'm sure the quality's not going to be there. But if they can get vast quantities for cheaper, maybe they can make that work too. I don't know.
And the whole world plays that game. The one thing that the U.S. is known for and reliable for is quality.
Agreed.
Particularly in commodities, because our standards for grain are world class.
Yeah, they're raising every year, right? I mean, farmers have specific things that they have to go by to get the best plausible grain that they can get.
Yeah.
Even the granaries are even saying, hey, farmers, you have to bring your stuff in like this.
Yeah.
Or else we won't take it. We'll dock you because it's too dirty, or we'll dock you because it's
We have standards to meet.
Exactly. So if you have standards to meet, the farmers have standards to meet, which makes our grain quality better.
Yes.
Agreed.
And on the global scale, we are the most reliable source of almost anything. I'm not sure about the manufacturing side because that's all value-added products and stuff like that.
Correct.
But straight commodities, we are the gold standard. The unfortunate part to
America.
The unfortunate part to that, though, is that when it comes to global competitiveness, we are not the most competitive at all times. They can get, I'll say, a discounted quality or assurance of quality from like South America, from Russia, Ukraine. That's mostly wheat, obviously, but certain countries, they want the best, right? And so they're your repeat customers. They come to the U.S. every year for the same amount. It changes based on their individual economic dynamics and stuff.
Their needs and whatnot.
And their needs, but
absolutely,
if you're in it for volume, well, you can cut some corners as far as guaranteed quality goes. You're going to get quality without a doubt, and the other countries are coming a long way too. But why buy the best of the best when you could buy
secondhand?
Yeah, why buy Cadillac corn when you can buy Chevy corn, right? If you're going to throw it off a bridge.
What's wrong with Chevy?
Nothing. Nothing. If you're going to throw it off a bridge, though.
I get it. Yeah, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. And that's the world we face in right now.
Yeah, it's always been that way. It's just more prevalent now.
It's definitely more prevalent.
Because the communication's better. Well, I should say the communication to the public is better. It's more thorough. More people are asking questions. which is a good thing.
Yeah, more people are interested now.
Yes.
I think, and that matters. It really does.
Yeah.
Shoot, where were we? Oh, we were on trains, and we got talking about that. Okay, so now, obviously Seegers was in Chemung here, Harvard for a long time, and they sold out. What, 4 years ago?
It was 2019.
4 years ago, and then the DeLong Company took over, and they've done some hellacious improvements up here. They built a couple new bins and things like that to be able to handle all the grain coming in and out. How does that affect your business, having them extra bins and stuff up there for product?
Specifically, not a lot different. When it comes to investing in these facilities, much like everything else, it's gone up year over year. We've had a lot of plans when we were Seegers. We had a lot of long-term plans, for growth and expansion because the crops are getting bigger every year. You have to handle them faster, all that stuff. That trend is going to continue
Forever.
basically. As far as I can tell.
In our lifetime, it will.
I don't think it'll ever saturate. But in the rising cost of making these acquisitions on stuff like bins and handling equipment, we saw a pattern, and they both separate and together see the pattern of the escalating prices. An item that you could have bought a year ago is now 30% higher.
Yeah, we've noticed that.
So if you
everywhere,
you need it, right? You're gonna need it. If it went up 30% last year, what did it do the year before that? Oh, it was up another 30%. You're best to take off the hit today and spend more money than you planned on and get it cheaper because it's going to be more expensive later. You just don't know how much more expensive.
Correct. It could be 2%, could be 5%, could be 30%.
Exactly.
But either way, if you buy it today, it's only going to go up in value. In the world we live in today with inflation and everything else that we have, if you buy it today, theoretically it's only going to go up. Now the only difference in that would be like equipment and maybe housing. Because I could see both of those once the inflation starts leveling off or even going back down. I could definitely see the housing market coming back down. I can see the equipment market.
I would like to think so.
Come back down.
The difference is on a revenue generating asset.
Correct.
And now those are even more valuable because interest costs are so much more expensive than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'll say 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, even.
Yeah. So it's all about how you manage your business. It was a smart decision at the time, and right now, 3-4 years later, it was definitely a smart decision.
Yeah, because the only like the granary up here, you do have the rail right there too.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, this is just me guessing out loud here, you guys can probably haul your corn. What I mean by yours, I mean DeLong's corn. You probably can haul it here and ship it out on the rail then, and then now you have that extra capacity there that you didn't have before.
If you need to, absolutely.
Which is huge.
Yeah. When the market's telling you to ship grain, you got to ship grain.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if your granaries or if your storage here is full or not. You need to ship it.
Yeah.
So if it's not full, okay, where do we got to get it from then? And obviously, DeLong's owns quite a few granaries in the 150-mile radius from here. So it's not like they couldn't say, hey, we're going to dedicate 2 trucks to just haul down here to the rail every day, as much as they can haul, or 5 trucks, or whatever the number is, so we can get that train filled to get that baby down to Texas.
Yeah. Well, in the fact of the matter is I'm sure you're well aware, the trucking industry is not infinite, and it's getting less every year. So you just by sheer volume, you just can't move as much on truck as you can on rail.
No,
which is logistically.
And rail's probably faster too, I would imagine.
I don't know if it's faster in particular, but definitely the volume.
Well, the volume, no doubt, but I just think about like trucks. Okay, you can only have a truck driver can only be on the road for 13 hours. And then they got to stop and take an 8-hour break, and then they got to get back on the road again. Yep. Well, you can't make it from here to Texas in 12 hours. So you probably got to stop twice in that time. Where a rail, once that baby gets rolling, hopefully from the conversation that we had before, hopefully that baby can just keep rolling all the way down there.
Yeah.
At 45 mile an hour or whatever speed that they're going at, just continuously all the way through.
Yeah, I think the UP in particular, I think they all do. They publish the average train speeds, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
I think that's published. I don't know where, but I know I've seen it before. I can't remember where, but yeah, you can't make a Smoking the Bandit run for 400,000 bushels of corn to Texas.
No, I do know. Somebody had once told me that they actually have like GPS on these trains, so they know exactly where they are at any given time, at any given day, to know if they're going the right speed, going the right. And if somebody says, "Hey, where's my corn at?" coming from Harvard, Illinois, they can say, "Oh, well, it's down here in northern Missouri. It's at this exit or these marker lights or whatever." So they can definitely keep an eye on all that stuff.
Yeah. And that part's crucial because we have to know when it's going to show up, so we can watch it as soon as they assign us a train. We can watch it from the origin and watch it all the way up because we got to be ready. Right, train comes at 2 a.m. You can't have your guys working all day. Go home at 5 o'clock.
And then come back at 2 a.m. to fill a train.
Yeah, hopefully not.
That's not the goal.
It happens sometimes.
I can imagine. You just get that beep. Oh, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah, well, it's a classic example. We had a train that was supposed to show up yesterday morning, and it got to Cortland. There's a big UP, I think it's that's a dedicated line. A Union Pacific line that comes in from the west. It comes from Clinton, Iowa. He got to Cortland. And usually they stop there and let the metro traffic clear, and then they sneak into Chicago, and then they sneak right back out and come out to us. Well, that train sat there for whatever reason. You may never know, but it sat there for 6 hours. When normally in that 6-hour time frame, he'd be at our doorstep. So we had the guys who were at home resting, waiting, who were going to come to work at noon yesterday. They ended up coming to work last night at 9 o'clock.
Oh, that sucks.
It's terrible.
It's not your fault.
It was a good thing, actually, because it was so hot yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure to be there at 9
still
o'clock.
A long day.
No, I get it. But that still sucks for logistics-wise, though, on your end of it.
Yeah, it's the price of doing business, I'll call it.
It happens to everybody. I know it. I know when I was working for Deere, we had all of our parts orders show up usually around a specific time, between 11 and noon or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it'd be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, where the hell is our parts order at? Like,
right.
We got customers that are waiting on parts here, that need to get their combines back together or their lawnmowers fixed or whatever the case may be. And he'll show up. Oh yeah, I broke down. I had to get a new truck out here.
Truck got a flat.
Took 2 hours to fix or 3 hours to fix.
The driver called in sick, whatever.
Whatever. And so, yeah, I get it. That shit happens, and that's just part of life. You just kind of got to roll with the punches at that point. So, obviously, you were up here in Harvard for till when? 2019, you said.
19.
And then you got a management job.
Yes.
Over down there in Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake. Yeah.
So what does that consist of then? Are you managing like the whole facility, or are you managing just?
Yeah. Logistics, buying and selling. I'm actually doing buying and selling for both places now. Mostly origination for both, but I do all the selling down there. The difference down there is they don't have the track capacity to load the big trains, the 110s, so they load single cars. So you sell grain, and then the railroad will give you cars based on a schedule. And, someday they'll drop off 3, someday they'll drop off 5. We can hold 25. So someday they drop you off 25, and then you got 2 days to load them, as opposed to the 15-hour window that starts immediately, it's nicer. But you just kind of never know how many they're really going to drop off. Because sometimes they'll say, oh, well, there's 5 here, and then there's 5 coming, but then they'll only drop off 8. Or sometimes what's happened is the local crew, who are doing their best job that they can within their parameters, if they run out of time doing the rest of their jobs and you're the last one on the list, well, we're just not stopping today. We've got 8 cars for you, but we don't have time to drop them off because they're on hours of service too.
Absolutely.
So that part's a little frustrating at times, but
I could see that because that's a smaller facility over there then.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's like half of what Harvard is.
That's still a lot of. I mean, between the two, what can you hold for grain between the two? Do you know? That's a tough question, I know, but
Crystal Lake is like 2.3 million, roughly, for everything. Not 2.3 million corn, but then Harvard. I think Harvard's about double that.
Jesus, it's a lot of bushels.
It is a lot of bushels.
That's a lot of bushels to keep an eye on, keep track of, and
it takes vigilance.
I mean, that's a perfect word for it.
Yeah. Well, when we tell farmers all the time, if you got a bin full of corn, you got 40,000 bushels of corn on the farm, and corn's $6 a bushel, if you put that in dollars, if you had over $100,000 laying out in your yard, you'd probably check it pretty often.
Absolutely, you would.
Lest you lose $5,000 to $10,000 somewhere, right?
You don't want to. That's not the goal.
Sometimes complacency kills,
I get that.
So we have very good relationships with the farmers, and we talk about this stuff constantly. And there's tips and tricks and ways that you can keep stuff in condition or keep it fresh. And we really have a lot of options for the farmer to do. If, for example, this is a great example. If you got a bin full of corn and it's January and, you want to take the top off of it for whatever reason, you can haul it in this week. And, hey, if you get a price in mind, we can either put it in storage for a little while or, there's marketing tools that you can use to move the grain when you need to move it.
Agreed.
I always tell the guys, I'm like, don't worry about the price. Worry about the grain. The price will come later if you need it to. Ultimately, you're about the price, but when you're waiting for the price and you're not worried about the quality, you're going to lose both.
Yeah, because there's a lot that goes into, I know we touched on the subject earlier, but there's a lot that goes into making sure the quality of the grain is there.
Yeah.
It starts from right here, picking it in the field.
Absolutely.
You got to make sure your combines are set the right way, because if you have too much foreign material, which is, too much cob or too much leaf or too much stalk,
or you're just grinding it,
or
way too tight.
Yeah, so instead of having a nice kernel of corn, you're breaking them in half and things like that. That all goes to the quality that you have to have, and that also goes for protecting it too. Because if all of a sudden you got a lot of, if you're trying to the combines are trying to knock the corn off of the cob, and you have too much cob in there, well, cob can break down. Cob can turn moldy. Cob can do all these things. And if you have a lot of that,
exposed.
Right, and if you have a lot of that in your grain system or in your grain bin, it can turn moldy. And whatever that thing is touching is going to turn moldy. And at that point in time, now you don't have the quality there.
It's a perishable product from top to bottom.
So the drier, the better product that the farmer can bring into the granary, the easier your job is too.
Yeah, well, it's easier on all ends.
On everybody's end. Yeah. I'm even saying even the farmers that don't have grain bins and they bring them into you, you want that grain to be as clean and pure as possible.
Yep.
You can dry it down to the temperature that you want, or the moisture that you want to dry it down to. You guys can do all that. But as far as the quality of the grain goes, you want to make sure that quality is there so it doesn't spoil things on your end. It's for everybody. You've heard this the phrase garbage in, garbage out. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So now that you're down there at Crystal Lake, and so you're like the manager of the facility then.
Yep.
So you're the one that goes in and looks at all the bins to make sure that they're still in good shape, the floors, the augers, or do you got guys that help you out doing all that so you can concentrate on?
Yeah. I got people. My superintendent down there, he's relatively new to the grain industry, but he's been around long enough. He knows what to do. And myself and a couple other people, he's got good resources to make good decisions. And then, it's my job to also then coach on specific things. But ultimately, as the merchant, if you will, it's my job to not put him in a position where something's going out of quality. Because, again, it's a perishable product. Right?
Yeah, and you're not going to put somebody in a position to fail.
I wouldn't want to, no.
Not on purpose. That's what I'm saying. Your goal is to make that place succeed. If that place needs to succeed, everybody that's working there needs to do their job. Yeah. So you're going to teach them put them in a position so they can do their job accurately, quickly, efficiently, and that's great. And being that you started at a young age, right?
Yeah.
You've been there. You've done it all.
I've ruined more things than you can ever think about. Trust me.
Okay, like what? I want to hear a story.
If there's a mistake you can make, I've made it. I was bin sweeping. I think it was in Crystal Lake. Yeah, it was. Bin sweeping beans. It was so dusty you couldn't see, and I was closer to the temperature cable than I thought I was, and caught the temperature cable in the bin sweep and sucked the bin sweep up to the roof because I couldn't shut it off in time. That was the worst one.
Oh, my God.
Needless to say, my supervisor at the time was not very happy with me.
I can imagine he wasn't just going to give you a nice Christmas bonus that year.
I earned that one.
Oh, my God. Shit happens.
It does.
We're human.
Yep.
You're not going to be perfect in everything that we do.
I tell my guys all the time, and even the scale people, I'm like, you can't make a mistake that I haven't made 10 times already.
Yeah, and that's where I believe that people like yourselves need to be in the position that you're in, right? Because you've done it all. You've messed it all up. You've fixed it all.
And I fixed it all.
That's
the main thing.
You know what not to do and what to do, and you can people that are coachable and teachable, you can teach people that.
Yes.
I always told people, like, I was intern manager for a while in different categories. I'm like, I'm not going to make you do something that I haven't done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you do something I haven't screwed up.
Or I don't think you're capable of.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. If I think you're capable of doing it, go do it. If you screw it up, hey, you screw it up. Because I screwed it up too. So, I mean, that was the way that I always wanted to be. I always thought that if I had a manager that was over me, or that I was, that was my manager or my superior or my boss, I want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yep.
If you're going to tell me to go do something, I want to make damn sure that you're going to do it too, or that you have done it. Yep. If you're going to make me go do something because you're going to make me go do it, well, let's think of another way to get this done then.
Yeah. Well, and my thing now is I've kind of reframed my thinking. I'm capable. I think you're capable of it, but you as the employee, you need to be willing to ask questions.
No doubt.
And so that's been a recent shift in my thinking. And I tell the guys all the time, you can do this. If you're confused, ask.
Yeah, I'm to that point too.
It's a coachable moment.
Right. We got a new employee at where I work, and I tell them all the time, like, hey, this is the way that I've done it in the past. I know it works.
Yep.
If you think that you have a different way to do it, that's faster, more efficient, do it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to stop you.
I will help you.
I will help you do it. Yeah, exactly. We can teach. We can help each other out here. We can teach each other, because just because I did it this way doesn't mean it's the right way. Doesn't mean it's the wrong way, but doesn't mean it's the right way. Maybe that person thought of a different way to do it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, God damn, that's pretty smart. I never thought about that.
Exactly.
And then the same thing. I've told him, like, I'm not going to make you do something that I haven't done.
Yeah.
Like, if I tell you to go grease that big rig over there, trust me, I've greased it. So please go do it. You know what I mean? That's just the way that I've always been, and that's the way that I think that that stuff needs to be done. But this podcast episode is sponsored by Dan's Diesel Performance. If you're looking to improve your truck's performance, efficiency, or appearance, check out Dan's Diesel Performance. They manufacture turbochargers, fuel injectors, fuel pumps, transmissions, intake piping, and much, much more. Plus, they offer all the top brands in the diesel industry. They're located in Machesney Park, Illinois. Visit their website at dansdieselperformance.com or give them a call at 815-977-5865. The fun thing about talking to a guy like you on what to do with commodities is that you deal with it every day. You see it every day. You understand it. A guy like me, when I was farming, I was worried about, oh, God, I'm going to need some rain. Man, that corn looks like shit. We got to get nitrogen down. I'm not watching these markets all day, every day. So when I can call you and say, okay, Chris, what's going on? What should we do here?
Yep.
This is where I'm at. You know the position I'm in. You know what we're doing. What do you think?
Yep.
And then to get your opinion, who's somebody that I think is very, very intelligent in this, you really helped a guy like me out make decisions on what to do.
Yep.
Through you guys. And I really appreciated all that time.
That's literally what I get. That's what I get paid to do every day.
Sounds like a terrible job.
It's awful. Nobody else should ever do it.
Just everybody go to Chris, right?
Yeah. Don't come to me. Go to whoever you want. I appreciate other people too. Everybody has a different opinion, and people they have opinions for reasons, and a lot of them have a lot of conviction. And the thing that I try to focus on in the farm side of thing is I can't tell you what the market's going to do, and if I tell you today, I'm probably going to be wrong tomorrow. But what we can figure out together is what you need to do to be profitable. And if I can be a part of that solution, that's great. Or maybe worst case scenario is, we're not talking about profitability. Maybe there's an extra step that we can take to get you closer, or maybe even mitigate a loss.
Yeah, I was going to say the bottom line too, right?
Yeah.
We also talked to you a lot about saving our bottom line.
Yeah.
How do we go about doing that? And there's a ton of different tools out there to be able to do that. We won't go into too much detail, but there's things like puts and calls, things like that we can call you about. And if you don't know what puts and calls are, I can't explain it. He can explain it better than me.
Yeah.
But those are things to help make sure that your bottom line is higher than what it normally would be by doing anything else.
Maybe.
Theoretically.
Well, farming is the same way, but
it is.
Sometimes it's not so much about maximizing profitability; it's about maintaining. And so, it's pretty simple, but you'll never go broke making money, right?
Correct.
If you know where your bottom line is, you know where you need to be.
Exactly.
Your risk mitigation strategy is to make the call when you need to make it and own it.
Yeah, that's why I said, protecting your bottom line too, because okay, this is, I got whatever X amount of dollars into this. I know that I can't go below that, or else I'm going to be in the red.
Yeah, and
I want to be in the black. Yeah. So, how do I manage this? How do I sell this the right way to make sure that I'm always in the black, even though I might only be in the black just a pinch?
Yeah,
but you're still in the black.
And there are historically, we've been in an exceptional time of farming where we've had several years that have been very, very good. And so when stuff is going good, you kind of tend to forget about
those tools.
Yeah. It's we used to joke and call it the Forrest Gump marketing strategy, where you do nothing, but the next thing you do is better than the last thing. That's not a strategy.
It's not a strategy, but there is some truth to that, right? Because
it happens. I've seen it.
Well, I'm just saying, just because you did something last year doesn't mean it's going to make you profit this year.
Absolutely.
So it's not a strategy per se, but there is truth to that.
There is.
So you to me, it always comes back to that bottom line. If you're above that bottom line, you're in good shape. And it doesn't matter what strategy you take. It doesn't matter what tool you use. It doesn't matter what Mother Nature does. If you're above that bottom line, you're in good shape.
Yep.
And you can live another year.
Exactly. And that's literally the best thing about agriculture is it's always the same. It's always different. But you're only 1 year into it. So even if this year you screw up royally, you get everything wrong, next spring you get a fresh start.
As long as you're in the black.
Well, maybe.
As long as you're in the black, right?
Maybe not.
The goal is
is to be in the black.
If you're even in the black just a smidge, hey, I'm going to farm next year. I'm going to get this done next year. Now, I know people that have been in the red and have farmed the following year too, but that's not the right way to go about it.
Yes. I've seen it happen. I won't elaborate, but historically speaking, and I'm saying historically over 40, 50 years, your profit margins would suggest that you're going to have 2 good years, 2 bad years, and 6 average years.
Yep.
So the long-term average
is 60%.
Yeah.
That's definitely
probably
Hall of Fame.
A little bit less than that, but yeah, definitely.
And that's all you can ask for. Yeah. When you're in an industry like farming, every day is different than it was last year. So whether you got it in the ground the right way. Maybe Mother Nature didn't rain the way she should. Maybe you didn't get the sunlight that you did. Maybe you put nitrogen down too early or too late, or maybe you didn't spray for a fungicide when you should have. It's all the same, but it's all different. And every year you get to restart over again to try to maximize that.
Yep.
Chris, we've been talking for quite a while here. We need to wrap this bad boy up.
I feel like we did a pretty good job.
I had a blast. I had a blast. You are extremely intelligent when it comes to this stuff. So I hope you don't mind when I told you, like, I got to dumb it down a little bit because I was even lost in some of the conversation.
I get lost in the weeds real quick.
But, man, I had a blast. Thanks for coming over.
No problem, man.
And
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You come on back anytime you want. We'll do this again, and we'll talk about something that we haven't talked about yet. So
I'm sure something will come up between now and then.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.